Number 8. Apple Creek, Ohio. Many people consider the Amish as hardworking, devout, and kind people, despite their rigid religious outlooks. Often their communities sell goods to people outside their faith, but beyond that, they tend to keep to themselves. This can lead to some strange circumstances, as was the case in 2009 when an Amish woman named Barbara Weaver was brutally murdered. With such strict beliefs, many Amish individuals tend to rebel. Barbara's husband Eli often went online to a website called MocoSpace. He made many posts asking women if they wanted to engage in sexual relationships with an Amish stud. Meanwhile, he had a wife and 5 children at home in Apple Creek, Ohio. He was a member of the Andy Weaver Amish. They're notoriously conservative, and Eli had left the faith twice before, favoring an English lifestyle, but returned to his family each time. On June 2, 2009, Eli claimed he was out fishing while Barbara was fatally shot through the heart. Despite his alibi, his neighbors kept telling investigators about a woman named Barb Raber. She was what the Amish referred to as a taxi lady. She made money by driving Amish people wherever their buggies couldn't go. Raber herself had a family, but it was known that she and Eli had an intimate affair. It seems that Barbara knew of her husband's infidelity. Letters between her and a counselor mention this. She claimed that Eli hated her to the core. The man didn't provide her with enough money to support their large family, not because money was tight, but because Eli wanted to control Barbara. The couple's children witnessed their mom being physically abused several times as well. In their small community, if Barbara had confided in her bishop about this, he likely would have asked what she did to make Eli treat her that way. It was obvious that the Weavers weren't soulmates, but Eli couldn't just leave his family. Otherwise, the Amish would have shunned him. On the other hand, if Barbara somehow died, no one would have batted an eye. It seems that Eli asked many people if they'd kill his wife for him. Most of them didn't think he was serious until he asked Barb Raber. Text messages were found from between May 30th to June 2nd of the year Barbara was killed. The messages revealed Eli and Raber exchanging methods of murder. Weaver gave suggestions: blowing up the house, shooting his wife, poisons. The two were both arrested and tried for the murder. While Raber received 23 years to life in prison, Eli is serving 15 to life. Number 7. Delphi, Indiana. Towards the end of 2022, 50-year-old Richard Allen was finally charged for the murders of 2 teenage girls, Abigail Williams and Liberty German. The 2 victims were on a hike outside Delphi, Indiana in 2017 when they mysteriously disappeared. A day later, their bodies were located in the woods near the original hiking destination on the Monon High Bridge Trail. Details on how the girls were killed weren't released to the public out of respect for the girls' families. A photo of a possible suspect taken near the crime scene was captured. It showed what appeared to be a white man walking towards the victim's location. After gathering information from witnesses who were on the trail that day, police came up with a sketch of what the man potentially looked like. The drawing was eerily similar to Richard. Investigators also found Liberty's cell phone. On it, they found audio recordings of a man ordering the girls to walk down the hill. The word gun was also briefly mentioned. A weapon matching one of the .40 caliber rounds discovered at the crime scene was found in the suspect's home. When asked by police how his bullet came to be near the girls' bodies, Richard had no reasonable explanation. The man's car was also seen near the trail parked in a strange manner. According to witnesses, it seemed like he was purposely trying to hide his license plate. Thousands of eyes were on Richard during his first hearing at the Carroll County Courthouse. He wore a bulletproof vest to the meeting, likely to protect himself from the angry crowd who've been waiting for justice. He pleaded not guilty to the 2 murder charges, and in January 2023, his attorney asked for the case to be tried in a different county. This request was made in order to get jury members who were not from the same small-town area and who weren't already biased. The judge pushed back Richard's trial, which was supposed to take place on March 23rd due to countless pages of evidence that needed to be sifted through. The case is ongoing. Number 6. Tyrone, Missouri. In 2015, 36-year-old Joseph Jesse Aldridge killed 4 of his family members and 3 other people. The crime occurred in Tyrone, Missouri, which only has about 50 residents. It's believed that after finding his 74-year-old mother, Alice, dead, Joseph went crazy, sparking his murderous rampage. Alice died of natural causes, so it's unknown why the man reacted in this way. He was likely already in an unstable mindset, and the death just sent him over the edge. In 2008, Joseph ran into some trouble with the law. He was convicted of illegally possessing a pistol while under the influence of marijuana. He had to serve 21 months in prison for this offense and go through a rigorous counseling program. It doesn't seem that the weapon from this situation was the same that he used during the murders. Residents of Tyrone were shocked by the crimes. In a town where everyone knew everyone, it didn't seem possible that something this shocking could happen, but Joseph went door to door, killing his cousins and others. Police were alerted to the incident after a terrified woman called to report some gunshots that were coming from inside her house. When officers went to the property, they discovered 2 bodies inside. Joseph was also found after having killed himself with a gunshot to the head. Number 5. Laurel, Nebraska. Some small towns are so close-knit that hardly any crime happens there at all. That's why it's such a big deal when something does happen. In August 2022, police tried arresting Jason Jones on suspicion of murder. The 42-year-old Laurel, Nebraska native was severely injured after officers bursted inside his home using flashbangs. The suspect had to be airlifted to a hospital to be treated for burn wounds before being placed in jail. But why did the police do this? It's believed that Jason was responsible for the deaths of 4 people. One lived straight across the road from his house while the others lived a few blocks away. 2 of the victims were in their 80s while the others were in their 50s. Officers were even more suspicious of Jason after a couple receipts and a gun linked him to the crime. The town of Laurel only has about 1,000 people or so in it, and the last murder there happened over 100 years ago. Residents still brought it up sometimes, but now they have a more recent case to discuss. Some believe that Jason was simply trying to rob the victims, but things didn't turn out how he'd hoped. The home crime scenes were also set on fire. Initially, people just thought that the victims died from the flames and smoke inhalation. No one even thought to suspect murder until the evidence came out. Prosecutors are hoping to get the death penalty for Jason, but as of January 2023, the case is still playing out. Do you live in a small town? What is it like? Let us know in the comments down below, and be sure to subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying the video so far. Number 4. Port Angeles, Washington. 34-year-old Matthew Wetherington was the prime suspect after the bodies of his wife, Valerie Kambitz, and 3 of her children were discovered burnt to a crisp. The couple's mobile home was set on fire in 2019. Firefighters were called early in the morning of July 6th, but they weren't able to save anyone. Autopsy reports indicated that Valerie and her kids, aged between 5 and 9, were killed by the flames, but there was a sharp or blunt force trauma inflicted to their heads before the fire. All 4 of the victims were found in the main bedroom of the home. It seemed very suspicious that Matthew was conveniently camping at a nearby park and wasn't around when everything went down. The prosecutor pressing murder charges against him claims that he is a master manipulator who had a plan for total annihilation of his family. He pleaded guilty to the crime in court, but made little to no comments afterwards. A journal entry that he made the day before the murders read that his preparations were nearly complete. It seemed like he'd been plotting for quite a while on how to kill his family. Valerie's sister Brenda said that she always felt there was something off about Matthew. While she never wanted to be right, she also didn't feel like she should trust him. Even with these suspicions, Brenda admitted, "I did not expect this level of evil," when referring to the murders. Matthew was given a life sentence for his crimes. Number 3. Oregon City. Despite going on TV and publicly saying he was innocent, Ward Weaver killed 2 young women in 2002, Ashley Pond and Miranda Gaddis. His son, Francis, turned him into Oregon City police officers. It's reported that Ward raped his own son's girlfriend. The 19-year-old girl had to escape from the man's home naked and get help from a random person on the road. That wasn't the only crime reported either. Ward confessed to his son that he killed Ashley and Miranda. The murderer had a difficult childhood and was often beaten by his deadbeat dad while his mom drowned her sorrows in alcohol. To take out his frustration, Ward abused his younger siblings. Before joining the Navy, he had sexual assault allegations placed against him, but they were never pursued. A year later, in 1982, after his service, he brought a woman home from the Philippines. They'd go on to be married and raise 4 children, but their relationship was filled with domestic issues. Ashley and Miranda were friends of Ward's daughter Mallory. They came over to his house often to see her and hang out when they were kids. Then, years later, Ashley claimed that Ward took advantage of her while she was temporarily living at the house thanks to a troubling home environment. She had already been sexually abused in her own home. Miranda had a similar story. Evidence later came out after the girls disappeared that Ward was responsible for their deaths. He managed not to get the death penalty, instead opting for 2 life sentences. Number 2. Sprague, Washington. Children nowadays are warned not to talk to strangers both online and in person. With awareness of kidnappings and child trafficking more available, people have grown aware of the dangers this world can pose. In a small town environment, though, residents are often more laid back. Only about 500 or so people live in Sprague, Washington, so many locals think nothing bad could ever happen there. But they'd be sorely mistaken. In March 2015, security cameras captured video of a person trying to kidnap a 22-month-old child in broad daylight. The footage showed the suspect running away with the kid in his hands as the boy's siblings chased after him. Luckily, some teenagers nearby noticed the commotion and chased the criminal away, forcing him to leave the scared boy. It was later revealed that the kidnapper was a 15-year-old local who was arrested days after the sidewalk abduction. The minor apparently walked up to the 3 young children while they were at the park and lied, saying he was a babysitter sent to watch them. After talking for a little bit, he suddenly picked up the boy and ran. While not much information has been revealed as to why, the unnamed suspect will have to register and be on the Washington State Sex Offender and Kidnappers Registry for the foreseeable future. This news leads many to believe the teen's intentions with the child were unsavory. Along with this, he will also have to spend 56 to 70 weeks inside a juvenile detention center. Number 1. Courtland, Mississippi. In December 2014, a 19-year-old girl was mysteriously killed after making a late-night trip to her local gas station. Jessica Chambers worked in retail, and as a pretty young woman, she made a lot of boys' heads turn. She had a brief history with the law, having sold drugs for a short time in the past, but for the most part, everyone seemed to love Jessica. One night that winter, firefighters discovered a burning car on the side of the road. They did their best to put out the flames, but as they were working, a woman dressed in only underwear slowly approached from the nearby woods. Her skin was covered in severe burns, making her almost unrecognizable. In a meek voice, she simply called out, "Help me." The first responders asked her what happened and who was responsible. To this, she replied with something that sounded like either Eric or Derek. It was difficult to make out because Jessica's vocal cords had been badly damaged in the fire. In her injured state, the young girl was airlifted to a bigger hospital in Memphis. She was found in Courtland, Mississippi. Her family was told to meet her there, and after seeing her burns, they told her it was okay to let go. Just a few short minutes after, Jessica passed away. When news of her case spread, people became obsessed, trying to figure out who killed her. A gang member from Courtland, Quentin Tellis, quickly became the primary suspect. He was supposedly with Jessica on the day of the accident, and he lied about this fact multiple times. Later on, he admitted that the two of them had slept together, but only once. In February 2016, Quentin was formally accused of the murder, but he still hasn't been convicted. Currently, the man is serving time for a burglary. We'll have to wait and see what becomes of Jessica's story. Thanks for watching. What's the strangest crime that's ever happened in your town or city? Tell us about it in the comments. We love hearing from our amazing subscribers. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like and subscribe to support the channel and join the Badger Nation. We'll see you next time on Bad Badger. Bye!